If you've ever found it hard to write an academic paper because you weren't sure how to reach your audience, or even if you weren't sure what it really means to have an audience in the first place, this is the video for you. We're going to talk about what teachers mean when they say audience and how it changes your writing strategies. Writing is a form of communication. Just like talking and listening go together as a way to share information back and forth, so do writing and reading. When you choose which words you say out loud, you usually have an immediate audience in mind, the person or people standing in front of you or on the other end of the phone. Even when you don't have an immediate audience in front of you, like say when you're making a video for social media, you still have an idea of who is going to watch it and what kinds of things they like. To put it another way, knowing your audience helps you make sure you meet certain expectations. If you're sending a video to your friend, you know what they find funny. You know how to make them laugh and make sure they enjoy it. If you're telling your little brother how to bake cupcakes, you know how to say it in a way that he'll understand. You're adapting your message for your audience. It's what good communicators do, and that's why understanding your audience is such an important part of writing. One of the hardest parts about writing a paper for an academic assignment is that the audience is often contrived. What does contrived mean? It means that the audience is deliberately created rather than one that occurs on its own. In other words, it's imaginary. Your teacher has often asked you to write to someone who will never actually read the thing, and you both know it. Not all writing assignments have imaginary audiences. Sometimes you'll be assigned a writing project that really does get sent to the intended reader. Maybe you've had to write a letter to the president or your congressperson. Maybe you've had to create a flyer that you really do hang up for your community to see. These are authentic audiences because they really will receive your writing. Often, it's easier to write for a real audience because the expectations are clearer. That doesn't mean that writing for an imaginary audience is bad, though. In fact, if you never wrote for imaginary audiences, it would be really hard to be a good writer. Writing with an imaginary audience in mind is practice for the real thing. Maybe someday you really will be a researcher giving brand new information to the world. Maybe someday you really will be a public speaker delivering a riveting speech to an audience of thousands. Maybe someday you really will be a best-selling author creating entertaining worlds for your adoring fans. But you have to practice to get there, and that's what an imaginary audience helps you do. Here's the tricky thing about writing to an imaginary audience. It's hard to do. Humans are social creatures. That means that we communicate best when we know someone else is going to be listening to what we have to say, and it helps to have a specific person in mind. So when we get a writing assignment, our brains know, because we're smart, that the person who is really going to be reading it is whoever assigned it. Whether that's a teacher or our parent or guardian, it's really hard not to write with that person in mind. But they're not our audience. That means we can't just assume that they know what we know, and we shouldn't try to guess their opinions or favorite topics in order to make our paper look better to them. Sometimes a writing assignment gives you a specific audience to imagine. These can be fun and sometimes even a little silly. Describe the game of basketball, but describe it to an alien. Explain TikTok to someone who time traveled from 1950. Often, however, the assignment doesn't tell us who we're writing for. In that case, the safe bet is to assume you're writing to a general academic audience of your peers. What does that mean? Well, it means that you're writing to people who have a general understanding of your topic, but they don't know the specific details you've researched or observed. You need to be sure to provide context, but you don't have to describe every little thing because you can assume the reader has the same general cultural context as you. It also means that you should choose topics and share your opinion based on what you think and not what you think the teacher wants you to think.